About 4 years ago, I was introduced to this medieval fantasy base building game with RTS style armies and combat, which had a simple yet lovely art style and used a mix of territories, wave survival and population happiness for the basis of its gameplay. Not only did I love it after the very first playthrough, but I ended up making a bunch of videos about it, so I'm very happy to be able to say today that Becastled is out of early access after many updates and content additions, and I just hope I can show you how much fun it is to play with this video, but since it does have a demo available, I suggest you also try it out for yourself. Especially because you can play this game on a huge variety of console platforms and gaming systems in addition to its PC release. Do note that while this video is sponsored by its developers and publisher, I would not be playing it and making a video about it if I didn't enjoy it personally, and felt like it was a great recommendation for you all as well. So this is a win-win-win for us all, as its gameplay is based not just on days when you build and nights when you fight, but also on the 4 seasons. I'm going to show you a full playthrough and talk about the other game modes and settings in which you can play or make your own maps in. Its map editor lets you customize each map section with terrain tools, ground connections, as well as water and resource points, letting you even share your map using the Steam's workshop with other players. Besides the tutorial, which can teach you all the basic gameplay elements, you can play in the Sandbox mode and edit most of the game's settings to your liking. There, everything is constructed instantly, you have infinite resources, and the tech tree is already fully researched. You can build as big and wide as you want here, or just test out different buildings and their production rates, as well as units and their upgrades. For the regular main gameplay mode, called Freeplay, you can choose one of the 3 types of maps: flat, rivers or hills. Each offers unique challenges, but for a new player, the flat map is probably your best choice. It is here as you look beyond your starting area that you find enemy lunar towers, which are part of the endgame. Each has its main guardian, a very strong unit unleashed with the destruction of such a tower, but we will get to that by the end of this video. Before you even construct your main castle, there are several considerations to make, because it is wood and food which are your first resources to gather, and each separate territory usually has one main resource on it. Since the act of placing your castle gives you control over a few territories nearest it, you will want to place it next to forests, animals, fields or lakes. An important tip here is that lumberjacks don't need a sawmill building constructed inside the same territory that has trees in it, but just near enough that they can walk to the nearest trees and cut them down. But all the wood and food you need has to be collected by your sun-powered population, which is why homes need to be your first buildings. Another important tip is that the homeowners do not like living close to industry buildings, and each industry building will show you a range at which it will make people unhappy if they live close by to it. Understanding this will show you that your best city design will involve a lot of centralization of homes and dispersing production and industry buildings on the edges of your Sun Kingdom. In the beginning of each playthrough, capturing new territories will only cost you wood, but later it will start to require stone and iron. This directly shows you how you need to expand, by first capturing territories with stone resources and later iron as well. Do remember that each new building requires workers, and they only show up from your castle after a spawn timer, and they are limited by the number of homes you have constructed. Buildings don't automatically get their worker slots filled, and you have to do this manually each time. Luckily, buildings do have pop-up tooltips which will remind you of this if you forget. Once you have the food and wood production going, you can take a look around the map to find these towers I have talked about. This is where the moon enemies come from and attack your Sun Kingdom each and every night. This is why you're given a small army to start the game with, while you will have to recruit more as days go by. Since population happiness is an important mechanic in Becastled, the Tavern building will be your greatest ally in increasing the happiness of your Sun citizens inside their homes if they are constructed inside the Tavern's area of influence. If you have territories with sheep running around, you have to construct farms on those to put the sheep in and start producing food from them. These can be upgraded later with stone and additionally with a nearby butcher shop, giving them much higher food production rates. But until you get to that point, forests which have wild animals in them or lakes with fish in them allow for another way of collecting food from the environment. Since trees do regrow, you should try to minimize the number of trees you cover up with buildings, as wood is not only for construction, but for territory capture, tech unlocks and converting into coal, meaning you will need many forests and many lumberjacks working in them during your playthrough. And this is about everything you will manage to do before the sun sets on your first day of Becastled. After the moon rises and wolves start to howl at it, you'll be attacked by the moon enemy, and it will start with a handful of badly armed simple soldiers at first. Your swordsmen and archers will easily deal with these, but each consecutive night these attackers will grow in numbers, which is why by the third day you should already invest in a new building for training new units. Archers would be my recommendation, as they have the range to fight off enemy melee units before they can even get to your units. But soon enough, you will need more melee units of your own to protect those archers. Training new units requires just gold and free population, and it is why before you even get to the third day and building army training buildings, you need to already construct a sun gold mine on the second day of your playthrough. If you don't have a sun mine in your territory already, make sure to buy a territory which has one. Mining for gold is just one way of getting it, and there are many more I will show you before the end of this video. Once your army has grown, you can start clearing out nearby wolf dens, but do know these are not easy fights. There is a wolf boss in each of these dens, and more wolves will spawn if you attack it. If you're not careful, all these new archers can become easy meat for the wolves, and even if you win the fight and gain the extra gold from clearing the den, you might spend more than you wanted on such a fight. As for more food sources, a territory with wheat supports wheat farms, and if you later add a bakery and a windmill, such a territory can become one of your top food producers, at least during the summer months, since it won't work during winter. Now, the next gameplay mechanic of Becastled we need to talk about is the tech tree. It is divided into military and economic branches, with starting tech requiring just wood or wood and gold combos, so your starting economy can support this low-level research. Since I did mention stone as the next resource you need, unlocking the stone mine should be your very first tech investment. If you end up needing more wood to unlock it, that is to be expected, as you will have to be expanding your lumberjacks roster for a while in the early game. As with the stone gold deposit, if you don't have the stone in your territory, just buy the territory which has it and is nearest to your already owned ones. Stone is needed for all future building upgrades, unlocking later territories, and for tech upgrades higher up on the tech tree. In the game's current balance, at least the pre-release version I am playing here, stone was the hardest resource to accumulate, so use it to upgrade your stone mine as soon as possible. If you have been efficient with food production and collection, by the 4th or 5th day, you will be needing to unlock the tech for a barn and warehouse to be able to expand the maximum amount of resources you can stockpile in your kingdom. Those buildings can also be upgraded with stone, so you won't have to keep building them constantly, but expect to do so at least before the first winter. The next way of making gold in your kingdom is to get a percentage from the sales on the local market. This mechanic used to be more involved, but now it is mostly automated, requiring you to first unlock the market in your tech tree and then to start adding market stalls near each other to keep increasing the bonus received from having a marketplace with multiple stalls selling local resources like wool, leather and the like. Each of these stalls needs a sun worker in it, so that is just another reason to make you keep adding new homes each time you place down any other building in Becastled. The speed at which your town square will grow is quite fast, and don't mind adding a new tavern at some point to keep all new homes under its positive mood effect range. The Builders Guild will help you with all this construction and is especially useful for repairing buildings damaged by enemies. The next resource you need to start collecting is iron, and same as with stone, you first need to have an iron deposit in your territory and an iron mine building next to it to start extraction. Iron is needed for late game territory unlocks, tech upgrades, as well as upgrading your army or building siege weapons. At this point, the moon enemy will start increasing the amount of soldiers it sends out during its night raids, and make sure to reposition your army to evade their attacks. You can teleport your units back to the HQ during the day, but not during the night. At the beginning of autumn, you should already start to think about the winter days, and most importantly, you need to unlock the tech for the charcoal kiln, so you can transform wood into coal to burn it during the winter and keep your sun people nice and warm. If you don't, their happiness level will go down very fast, and so can your entire kingdom. A third way of making gold in Becastled is by using the Caravans, but they not only require a tech unlock, but also horses as a resource, and these are rare on the map and you have to capture territory with them to even be able to create the caravans at the caravan building, so they can start passively producing gold for you. Far easier is just to add more market stalls at your local market and boost the gold income that way. Now, the combat RTS controls of Becastled do leave a lot to be desired, so whenever you are preparing your army to defend your kingdom during the night, make sure to spread them around and cover all the possible approaches to your buildings from the enemy spawn point. I have written my feedback on army controls and army attack orders to the developers, so I hope that by the time you are playing the full release of Becastled, you'll be able to better control your army and more easily deal with these moon attackers. Once you have unlocked decorations from the tech tree, you can start to make a true difference in how your kingdom looks like, with all sorts of fences, trees, bushes, lamps, objects, and even mini parks. These don't just make everything look prettier, but also have a positive mood effect on your local population, which can enjoy these around their homes. Upgrading farms with stone and an extra workplace to increase their food production is one way of doing it, but another is unlocking the butcher's tech in the tech tree and placing a butcher's shop building in such a way that its area of effect range covers multiple sheep farms, for example. This will give you a good boost to food, but try to get the most out of it with the correct placement. At this point, unlocking new territories will come with a high cost and 3 types of required resources, so pick your next territories very wisely and based on what resources you need the most. It is a progressive cost to get more territory, and at one point you also have to think about can you defend it all, not just with armies but later walls and towers. One of the more interesting military unlocks at this point will be the banner bearer. What this tech lets you do is pick out a single soldier and pay a high sum of gold to give them such a banner to carry, while choosing which type of bonus will its aura give to nearby soldiers. Do note that it will be hard to keep this individual soldier alive, so at least pick the one with the highest experience level. To get the most out of the wheat farm, windmill and bakery combo, you will have to add more wheat farms on that resource field, because the bakery is very fast at consuming available resources and turning them into food. There is even a whole advanced wheat farm tech at the top of the tech tree, which will help with this and unlock very high food yields, allowing you to have and feed even more population in your kingdom. Soldiers in your army will regenerate their health during the day, as they are sun people after all, but to help them during the night and during combat, you can build and operate an aid tent as well as a herbalist shop, both of which need to be first unlocked in the tech tree. The exact placement doesn't matter much as long as the herbalist is constructed next to a forest. When your first winter day comes, multiple things will happen at the same time. First of all, your food production rate will plummet as the wheat farm, windmill and bakery combo will stop working, meaning butcher shops, sheep farms and hunter cabins will become much more important. There are a few other ways to produce food in winter, but these are at the top of the tech tree and also require buying seeds from the world market for the indoor farms. Since population happiness can go down in winter due to a lack of food or low call for warmth, you can unlock and construct a church or a library or an astronomy tower near your sun people's homes and boost their mood during the long and cold winter days. Each one is a separate unlock and requires several types of resources to construct. The northern lights are a nice touch by the devs for the winter look on the maps. I would advise unlocking the smithy by this point in the military section of the tech tree so that you can start to spend iron on upgrading your soldiers. Each soldier can individually be upgraded by clicking on them and choosing the offensive and or defensive upgrade, with archers getting fire arrows. These upgrades have to be crafted at the mentioned smithy building, so if you have a large army you might need 2 such buildings to have enough upgrade slots and to produce all of these. This part is also tedious right now and you don't even have a way to see which soldiers are already upgraded, which is why I hope devs used my feedback on this and improved this section of the game for the release version you will be playing. Another important topic about the soldiers is that there is a limit on the number of them you can have, which you have to increase by first unlocking the barracks and then building it to go past 30 soldiers. You will have to do this several times by the end of your playthrough to amass a big enough army for the end game. In case your coal production was insufficient and your stockpiles get spent mid-winter, you will immediately have to not just upgrade your charcoal kiln, but also construct another and hope you can outproduce your population consumption, or else you will have a big mood problem resulting in no more sun people being spawned from your castle. Once you survive your first winter, you can immediately go back to expanding your population, as you will have high food yields again, and with more population you can grow your army, unlock the remaining tech and upgrade your economy. Building a treasury and unlocking the tax controls is yet another way of earning more gold, which you will need to upgrade units to elite status, construct siege weapons and pay for late game tech upgrades. And with this new spring and your wood and stone production freed from supporting the economy, you can start to invest into towers and walls, because your kingdom won't be able to grow much more in size anyway. So starting to wall in your existing urban sprawl is a good start in preparation for the endgame against enemy bosses. These towers have a few options on them, but the one that is most important for you is to make sure that the door to each tower is turned towards your borders and not towards the enemy, which is something that might sound silly, but it can easily happen to you as you're constructing them. Before you get a siege workshop and start to produce ballista and trebuchets, you can start to set up archers at the top of towers and walls. These have handy green cubes representing slots for individual soldiers, and it is one of the most advanced army micromanagement features these devs have implemented. There are also stairs to help your soldiers climb up to walls and gates you can construct to allow for your army to get out of your enclosed kingdom if you ever amass enough resources to wall off every territory. That part is not easy at all. Once you have a wall full of archers with fire arrows and towers with siege weapons, your defensive battles against the regular enemy night raids will turn into easy battles. But that is certainly not the end game of Becastled, because you have not yet dealt with the enemy moon towers, and that is where the real challenge is at. So once you amass a sizable army and upgrade lots of experienced soldiers among them, you can sally out and attack the closest moon tower during the day. It won't put up much of a fight, but what you might not notice is that its garrison of troops will be added to the next nightly attack, and the final sum of enemies might just be too much for your defenders, especially if you dare to take down several enemy moon towers during a single day. They will all mass for an assault, and this is where you should save your progress most often. In this example, I overdid it and unleashed several top enemy units all at once along with a huge army. I was up against a fire-breathing dragon and a lunar rock monster which just breaks up into several smaller ones once you destroy its first form. By the time I was able to clear all the enemies out of my kingdom, not only was most of my army turned into ghosts, but many of my buildings were lying in ruins as well. This called for a loading of the most recent save file and rethinking the strategy of clearing these moon towers one at a time per day. I hope the showcase of Becastled gave you a lot to think about, and that if you have chosen to buy it, you have learned the basics of how to play it. As a long-time fan of the game and someone who patiently waited for its very long early access period to finish, I'm quite happy with the gameplay save for a few of the things that I've already mentioned and given my feedback on. What the game certainly lacks is any sort of storytelling experience past what you can come up with yourselves as you play in its free-play gameplay mode. I do think the sales from this full version can give the devs a chance to expand on the game, as I would love to keep getting reasons to come back to it, as even if it's not a hardcore RTS, it is still a very fun mix of cozy city building, settlement defense and management, as well as army combat that I think few games manage to pull off as well. This is something all the positive reviews on Steam speak of, and there is a sizable full release discount at which you can buy Becastled right now. If you need any more tips or help, feel free to ask, and make sure to leave your own opinions and first impressions as comments under the video. My old videos won't be of much help to you, so I could make more new videos about this game in the future if you're interested and have fun playing it. But for now, you can see other RTS games by checking the cards on the screen or links in the description. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all happy gaming.